I gotta do this.
But it's not been approved.
Fishers.
Yeah, it's not.
And
it's
I'm
just
seeing
speculative. They
the
do go
staff,
to France, I think, or
clinicians.
That's where we're gonna
Really
see it.
going
Yeah.
on, yeah, they
Yeah.
had one that just chewed all over you.
Okay.
Man.
Yeah.
Greetings, everybody.
Greetings.
Hello.
We are here at the administration building for the Fayette County School Corporation School Board of School Trustees meeting. It's Tuesday, April 14th, 6:30 p.m. I want to call the meeting to order, so shall we stand to do the pledge? I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, as I start this meeting, I just want to say on my drive here, I almost got a little bit, sounds weird, nostalgic to drive by the high school and feel like, wow, it's probably not been that long, but it feels like forever since our kids have been in school.
Mm-hmm.
It's
It does.
nice actually to be at this meeting, to feel like we can at least have some business and feel like we're doing something for our kids and our families, so. Okay, I'd like to begin by asking for a motion to approve the agenda as submitted and amended.
Madam President, I'll make that.
Thank you, Chris. Do I hear a second? Thank you, Dennis. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I'm sure we don't have patron comments on agenda
We
items.
did not receive any.
Okay. I guess they could have emailed them.
They had that capacity.
Okay. Now we'll go on to the consent agenda, which includes the approval of minutes from the regular business meeting of 3/10/2020 and the emergency special meeting of 3/16/2020, the personnel report, retirements, resignations, leaves of absences, etc. The approval of the March 2020 claims number 56070 to 56335, and donations, a donation of $2,500 from the Fayette County Foundation to Whitewater Adult Education to supplement the cost of the orientation coordinator. A donation of $5,050 from the Dana Riemann CHS Academic Endowment to be used by teachers for equipment, supplies, and materials. And lastly, a donation of $1,500 from the Fayette County Foundation to the CMS Garden Club to be used for a small greenhouse and above-ground plots. And again, just an overwhelming number of donations, which I'm guessing came in a little earlier.
Yes.
Yeah. So, seeing the consent agenda, I'd ask for a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Lori. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Andy. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll now move on to the action item, personnel report. Mr. Hensley in the hallway.
Good evening, everyone. Just a few recommendations here for the personnel report. So the first one is Alyssa Gerber, Special Education Assistant at Eastview. The second one there is Destiny Merritt, also a Special Education Assistant, kind of split between Eastview and Connersville Middle School. And also, for item number 2, we're requesting authorization to issue for our support staff their letters of intent to reemploy for next year. So this is something that's done every year, and we're just putting this on for your approval tonight. So.
Okay, great. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
So I would like to seek a motion to approve the personnel report.
I so move.
Thank you, Ann. Do I hear a
I'll
second?
second that.
Chris, thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, we will now move on to the elementary CMS CHS WCC discipline plans, bus conduct, FCSC code of conduct. Ms. Corsaro, welcome.
Good evening. Okay, last month I presented to you the discipline plans for all of the schools and gave you an opportunity to read over those and have had them looked over by the school attorney, and she's good with them. So at this meeting, I'm asking for your approval of all of the school's discipline plans.
Okay, I'd like to seek a motion to.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, didn't get the words out of my mouth, but thank you, Mark. Do I hear a second? Thank you, Dennis. Everybody wants to get out of here.
Yes.
Any discussion? All those in favor, I'm gonna read it. All those in favor of approving the elementary schools CMS CHS WCC bus discipline plan Bus conduct, FCSC code of conduct, signify by raising your right hand, opposed, same sign, motion carries.
I think it's that seat maybe that is.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
I know.
Yeah, so-
Two of them, they're making. Okay, we'll move on to Ms. Corsaro for the Head Start Grant, COLA, and Quality Improvement Funding for 2020, 2021.
Thank you. I'm presenting this for Mrs. McCollum. And under the Further Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2020, additional funding is available for the cost of living adjustment as well as quality improvement. So they are applying for funding in the amount of $23,274 for the cost of living adjustment and $55,000 for the quality improvement. What they would like to use these funds for is additional training services for the trauma informed care. Also to help support staffing, as you know, we're moving to a couple of our classes to full day. And then we need, in our assessment that we did through the community and our staff, we found that we needed to update some technology in Head Start. So they're going to utilize those funds for updating technology as well. So I just need your approval to apply for these funds in the amount of $78,274.
Okay. So I would like to seek a motion to approve the Head Start Grant, COLA, and Quality Improvement Funding for 2020, 2021.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Lori. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I'll take Mark's. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. The approval of the Criminal Justice Program at WCC.
Yes, I'm Mr. Dungan right now,
Okay.
but I asked him, he did. We're trying to keep our numbers to 10, we're trying to follow those guidelines, and I appreciate your patience and understanding with this. We talked about, this is more for the public, but we talked about trying to conduct this through Google Meet or Zoom, but with the redistricting information, that was going to be really challenging, especially to try to be able to show you the information we have, so, because it is a technology base. So just for the public to understand why we're doing this, and I want to say thanks to John Palsy and Justin and our tech department with David Way and Terry Miller for helping coordinate all this. It is streaming live on TV3 as well through their YouTube channel, so I appreciate the support we have from them. Last month, Mr. Dungan presented the proposal related to adding the criminal justice instructor program at the Whitewater Career Center. And before things all shut down with our buildings, we had over 50 applicants. Wow. And I believe less than 5 were ones who were interested in other programs too. So these are kids who would normally not have probably attended the Career Center. Awesome. So this will more than likely result in a significant enrollment jump for the program next year as well. Mm-hmm. So we have a lot of excitement with this, and this is something that I talked with Steve about a couple, 3 years ago as we were talking about ways to grow the program and meet the needs of our community and this part of the state. So I'm excited to offer this to the board for approval. We're going to work through Vincennes University, and they will assist with funding, equipment, and training resources. We have the position posted. We did that just to see what interest was out there, and I believe Brian Hensley sent that to both of you, or was going to, just see what interest we had pending the approval of this, just to test the water. So I do know that we have at least one local person who's interested at this point, but I'm not for sure anyone else. So with that said, our Career Center board is made up of all the superintendents that feed into the Career Center, and we already approved that as a board unanimously, so it comes to our governing body here for Fayette County Schools, and it's presented to you for approval for the 2021 school year.
All right, I would like to entertain a motion to approve the Criminal Justice Program at WCC.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Andy.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ann. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And just for the public to know that you haven't heard a lot of discussion, but so far, except for the Head Start grant, these are all things that, at least 2 of them, have been things we've already heard a lot about, so we've asked a lot of questions in previous meetings.
Right, thank you. Now, the next item is, that's a resolution from the board to authorize expenditures during the COVID-19 pandemic. And the resolution, I'm not going to read it word for word, but the basis of this is we want to be able to support our local agencies and facilities however we can. We have a lot of resources in the Fayette County School Corporation with facilities, One thing that we did already that I had notified you about, but we are permitted to seek approval after, is we asked our schools to collect all of their personal protection equipment, and we did provide that to local facilities and to the health department. So we donated, I don't have the exact count, but we donated all of our masks except for a very small box that we keep here for folks to use. And we also made gloves and hand sanitizer and gowns. We had quite a few gowns from the healthcare program at the Career Center. So we donated back into an SUV full of equipment and boxes of materials already. So I just wanted the public to know that. And that's what this is allowing us to do to help support our community and our citizens with whatever means we can, because everything we have is either donated or received through taxpayer funds. So that's what this resolution seeks, is that we can be a good partner to our community and our healthcare providers and emergency responders.
That's great.
But we do have choice on what we do, what are allowed to give to other public or other governmental entities, correct? So for example, like you said, we did keep one box and some gloves and whatnot, we could have kept 2 boxes or 3 boxes.
We
could've-
could have kept as many as we wanted,
Pretty much
but
it's our discretion, but obviously we don't need them.
no.
But it's not like if somebody, another governmental entity came to us and said, oh no, we've gotta have all of your supplies and we have to give them up to them. I mean,
Right, no.
Okay,
This is our choosing to be good partners, and since the buildings are empty until further
Oh, yeah.
notice, we wanted to put them in use. So that's a good question to clarify, but yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then we delivered those to the health department to Matt Shirk, so, yes.
And there's a great need, right, here in this
There
community
is,
for
the
that.
masks
Okay.
especially, I guess their goal, the N95s, we
Wow.
only had 2 or 3 boxes of those, which are the best.
Uh-huh.
But we had several boxes like Dennis has on. We gave him the dust masks. We gave him whatever we had from the shop classes and the different programs. So we collected everything we had. So we have a lot of rubber gloves left, but they didn't have a need for those right now. So we just sent a few boxes of those. So
Do we have any concerns that when this thing ends, and it will end, that when we have need of these supplies again, that we're going to be able to get them? Because some of our programs cannot function without them. I'm thinking of the things at WCC, the health careers, in a lot of the automotive kinds of things are required to have. Is there any?
well, we
Any-
believe after the crisis is over, I think this inventory is going to be replenished, but, based on what the State Health Department and the Department of Ed was saying, they really wanted us to give as much
Okay.
as we could. But yeah, I think we'll be okay at that point, but there's a lot of uncertainty. But I just didn't feel right for us sitting on those when they're here,
No,
if they
not at
could
all.
help protect our folks now. So, good question, but I believe we should be okay in 3 months, 4 months, 5 months,
Thank you.
6 months.
Please,
Stop.
No.
Stop.
okay.
Be optimistic.
I would like to seek a motion to approve the resolution to authorize expenditures for mutual aid during COVID-19 pandemic.
Madam President, I'll make that.
Thank you, Chris. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dennis. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Common School Education Technology Loan, Ms. Kalam-Talek, good to see you.
Good to see you, board members. First of all, I want to apologize for the short notice on this being added to the agenda. However, we just received communication from the Department of Education that they were fast-tracking the process for a Common School Educational Technology loan process, and the application is due on the 24th. We had already been discussing digital devices for lower grades in elementary instead of just in the secondary. So this might be our opportunity for that, should the board choose to approve our proceeding with the application. The application it uses the February count, so that's just about 3,150. So we could be eligible for $315,000 potentially in this loan. We will ask for 327 because Mr. Miller has a quote that 1,000 devices would cover students grades 3 through 6 with Levino Chromebooks and the operating system for those at $327 a piece. So we would ask for more funds, but potentially we could only receive up to the $315 or potentially less. Our application could not be approved. They use a factor of our assessed valuation per student, and we are 49th lowest. So we're in the top 50 of being eligible for these funds. So basically what's being presented for your consideration this evening is to authorize us to proceed with the application for the common school loan in up to $327,000. This would add to our debt service rate, which would be about 1.3 cents per $100 of assessed valuation, or $13 per $100,000 of assessed valuation in repayment.
I get a little frustrated with, this is speaking as a business person who just got a PPP loan, and the banker said, well, we can't guarantee that they'll be forgiven. And I appreciate that this is a loan at a lower interest rate, but it's still a loan.
It is.
It's still debt.
It is.
And so it's not really, I see that as not really our state government taking care of us in a way that would be more helpful. I realize that there are a lot of corporations that have a one-to-one computers and they bought them, and so it probably wouldn't be fair if we got this opportunity and didn't have to pay something, but was there ever any discussion about some of this being forgiven or a reduction? No, it's just a straight out loan.
It is, but some of the conversation we've had in cabinet is, you know, we need to have a sustainable system so that you don't get to the end of this and you do not have a way to replace the devices. So we have talked about, will this be able to be a component of the book rental? Whereby if you use some of the federal funds that are coming, the CARES funding that we should be receiving, you would never be able to charge book rental on that because those would be federal funds. And what then would happen is at the end of their life, 4 or 5 years from now, you need to replace those devices. And where are you going to have monies accumulated to do that? That has been a constant message since we went with the iPads at the high school. Previously, you know, those board members who were here saw my projections and they knew that we would have to make a loan to the high school again in the second generation for the purchase of those, which we did have to do, and the high school is paying us back every year from their textbook rental for that loan. And so the hope is by generation 3 of device purchases at the high school that they'll be self-sufficient and not have to have a loan from the corporation. So quite honestly, I believe we could, if we chose to, we could use those CARES dollars, which you do not have to repay. It's not a loan, but you're gonna hit a brick wall in 4 or 5 years. And I know I can never give that advice to the corporation to not have some sort of sustainability for this type of equipment.
So does this make us a one-to-one?
It would we've already purchased the Chromebooks for all the high school students, and we currently have iPads at the middle school, but we've already moved forward with replacing the iPads with Chromebooks for our middle school students. So we have enough iPads at the elementaries. We have carts of iPads and resources where teachers can use them. We have several in each classroom. We can take those plus the ones from middle school that are still usable, and we can roll those down to our K2 students. So this would take care of our 3rd through 6th, because our 6th graders also have devices as well. We were able to purchase those a year or two ago, I forget now.
Are
With
they
our
take-home
6th grade.
devices? These kids take them home?
Well, for the
At
6th grade, they use them at school, and I think they were able to get them sent home with the kids. So really, we have 1-to-1, 6 through 12 right
Okay,
now.
okay.
So this would allow us to move K-5 into 1-to-1, because I believe that all districts are gonna be needing to move into more of a permanent option for e-learning at this point.
Although I
That's-
thought we also had a discussion that you were concerned that state legislature would pull away e-learning. Maybe not after this.
Not after this. That really tied our hands with what we had to do, because 50% of the districts in Indiana were not e-learning districts. We were
Right.
one of those. We still have issues around this with technology access. And, that's something we were talking about today in our cabinet meeting was, do we look at providing some sort of a hotspot type option for kids? I mean, those are all we have to find some way to support them. But the one thing with these devices, when you can bring them to a place where you can access it, you can download the materials for the kids. And that's the one element we're lacking for our elementary kids, is having that capability.
Leslie, I'll say that before I shared, Scott, that they were going to take a harder look at e-learning and what's done. I think what will change, I could be wrong again, is the fidelity associated with the e-learning. That they will allow it, but they're going to be more involved and
And when
some
you can
some
use
clear
it.
expectations on what the e-learning looks like and what those models are. So,
And I know
and
we
making
have to
sure
make
all
some-
students are
Right,
served.
and this is to do immediately, right?
The only reason it's being brought to you now is because this opportunity to submit the application expires on the 24th. So we either do it or we don't.
And then how soon would we hear and how soon would we?
I
have it
imagine it'll
available?
go to the May board meeting of the
Okay.
Board of
So
Education.
it wouldn't be used in this school year?
Next school year.
No, but it does put us in a position. I mean, without this, we won't be able to purchase that and get it ready for next school year. There's just no way. So this would help take care of the funding piece.
Because I know, especially this corporation is not typically reactionary and just reacts in a crisis and does something. And I know you're not a rash person at all. So, I would love for all our kids to have devices, that's not it at all. I'm just frustrated because we're in such a pickle and our kids are really, I've heard from a lot of teachers, they're just really worried about their kiddos. And this isn't gonna help us for this year.
No, this opportunity is greater. Already, Mr. Miller and we paid off our last Common School Technology loan in December. That was our last payment. They withhold from our distribution every month. It was paid off. We were already planning to come and ask the board. However, that formula takes your ADM, divides it in fourth and multiplies by $500. Anyhow, the point is, it's less money. This is, that was gonna be, last time we got 70,000, and that was twice what our allocation was supposed to be, or something like that,
Wow,
so.
okay.
And maybe our allocation would be about 70,000 under that, I'm sorry. And we got about twice that because they gave us extra. But, so we were already planning to come, not for this much money. And then the formula that they're using for this changes it to allow for a greater opportunity for the schools. I don't know what the interest rate will be. I know it won't be any less than 1%, and I know it won't be any more than 4%.
Who are we getting our loan through?
Pardon me?
Who are we getting the loan through?
The state of Indiana.
Oh, the state, okay.
It's called a common school loan. It's just like the one we're doing for the construction project at the high school, only that's a construction project versus a technology project. And so our monthly payments that come in our tuition support is reduced by 1/12 of the annual payment. and then we transfer money from our debt service back to our education fund to repay that.
It's like roughly
And why do we,
4%.
why do we have a range? Why don't they tell us what it's going to be? 1 to 4%, it says, why do we not know that?
I don't know, that's by statute, and that's what they always say. So it's by statute that it's not less than 1 and not more than 4. And so that's what, every time we've applied, that's what it's been.
And I think our last construction one was 2.75, or wasn't it?
Yeah,
somewhere
I
in there?
can't remember,
Okay.
so,
I can't imagine with prime being at 3 1/4, there would be much over that.
no.
Especially if that's-
I don't think it will be. I think it'll be on the very low end.
Yeah, I mean, 4% our payment would be roughly $7,400 a month, but I mean, let's just take it.
And I don't like bringing things to you, I told you that in my email I sent, I thought at the last minute. It's just an opportunity, and we tossed it around here. It's an opportunity to try to position ourselves with some inexpensive money that we can hopefully recover and repay through our textbook rental fees as well. So, spreading that out over a 4-year period.
Taking on the extra debt, though, is not going to be a financial strength for us, even with the circuit breaker impact.
That is my concern.
There's a lot of uncertainties right now.
Sure.
You
We're
guys
replacing
don't crystal ball. Yeah,
$30,000 that's rolling off.
Yeah,
If we go with a 4-year, it will be, that'll go to about $90,000. But just like with the high school construction project, I've not drawn down the last $2,500 that we can draw down because I'm trying to play with our repayment date, if you will, to get it to where we have some debt rolling off, so we limit the impact of that. I'm not sure that I'd really be able to do that much with this, since we want to be able to go quickly on it, but every effort will be made to do that type of thing. So, but yeah, it's going to raise our annual debt service. But with the other debt rolling off, we do have a little bit of capacity, so.
From a practical standpoint, if we don't, these are devices that we are going to need, period. And from what I'm understanding, this is a method by which we can purchase these in a lump sum, and it's gonna cost us a little bit, but we're going to have to buy them at some point in time anyway. And this would be perhaps a better way for us to do that.
Only if you're going to go 1-to-1. I mean, if you choose to not go to 1-to-1, then you would not ever be purchasing these devices, so.
But we're between the rock and the hard place is going 1-to-1 with what's going on right now.
Yeah, I do think some schools were moving away from 1-to-1 previously from this, or that's what some of the articles that you read are, that they were moving away. I would imagine that their focus is not to move away from that now.
So would the devices be used on a daily period in class, or just specific when school's not in session? I mean, would they be using them
We
regularly?
use both,
Both?
Our kids at the middle school and high school use their devices daily.
But what about the elementary though?
I think there's a distinction from what I've learned, and I've talked to other districts. When you get down below 3rd grade, that's where the iPads are a little more appropriate for the kids with how they're used. Those would be primarily in the classroom, but what a lot of districts do is they will send those devices home with kids. Like, no school was set up to be an e-learning district for this. And that's the one, when we had a meeting with Dr. McCormick, the Southern superintendents a few weeks ago, none of these districts prepared for more than a few days. So they, we had 2 snow days. That's what e-learning was set up for. So really, no district was equipped to deal with a 2+ month shutdown. So it's been a learning curve for all of us. For us, we just did not have that in place because we had explored that and we've discussed e-learning and didn't feel it was the right fit for our community. I still have some concerns with that for the reasons that we've stated, with the connectivity for kids. And so, but the information we're getting from the state and from the DOE is how do we work through those problems to try to get the technology to the kids. Because this we may start the school year distance or remote learning. This may come back again. I mean, all the experts are saying this should come back again in the fall, and maybe even worse. So we have to position ourselves to be able to support our kids and our teachers to get the material and content, because I think Mark sent me an article last week, the impact of this closure, how many months of learning kids may lose. I think it was 6 months, wasn't it, Mark?
6 months.
That's impactful, and when you have kids who live in poverty, it could be even more than that. So we've got a lot of catching up to do with our kids when they do come back in, because some of our kids may not be getting that support they need. Others are getting tremendous support, we know that. So
I think sometimes we forget a lot of our students are listening learners.
they are.
I know.
It's true. And that leaves them out.
Well, in children with any kind of learning disability,
The parents are struggling right now to work with that.
parents are struggling with the math curriculum beyond belief.
Right.
Especially even the parents that are very involved with their children are struggling.
Oh, my God, but there's no defining line.
So,
Anyway.
is it, when Janie brought this to us to discuss, we'd already been talking about purchasing more devices one-to-one. That had been on the radar. This just sort of pushes it because they put such a short window on it. We have to have this done in 10 days from today, which I think is puts us in a bind. So, this is something, if you need more time or if you want us to do more research, we can always reconvene a special meeting to discuss it further. I want to leave that option out there too, because it is, it's over $300,000. That's a lot of money. Are we in good financial shape now? Yes. But the state's taking a big hit right now with revenue, and we don't know what that's going to look like, but I think we're all going to feel that, every governmental agency group, and it could be significant. But we have an opportunity here with the low interest rate to try to position ourselves to be ready for remote learning in a better way. I think our teachers have done a tremendous job with working under these and our principals with getting materials. We've done a lot of home deliveries. We're going to continue to deliver materials so they'll keep those kids who need it. And I say they've done a great job, but it's difficult. Our parents are struggling, and I understand that. This is hard for everyone, and our kids are struggling through this. We all worry so much about what our kids are going through right now, and the isolation. School's their safe place and their place where their friends are. So.
I do think another good component of this timing is the CARES dollars could be used to buy the devices for the teachers. Where in the past, like when we replaced the middle school devices, textbook rental can be used for the device for the students. But we then have to hit our taxing funds or our education fund or our operations fund for the devices to support the teachers, where if we proceed with this, we would be using those CARE dollars that are coming to put devices in the hands of the staff. So,
I know this is off this topic, but do we know how much corporations are getting through the CARES dollars?
a lot.
Okay. Have they designated a time frame when you will receive? Is it?
We have to apply, they've got to get some information, but, you know, they've released a lot of handcuffs on the federal grants. Normally, you have to have Title I, for example, you have to have 85% spent in year one, and then you can do a carryover to year two of 15%. Well, they've extended the Title I deadline. It's now till 2021 instead of 2020, and in addition to that, the carryover limit has been removed. So they're working their way through all of the grants to make modifications to those also. So all of that's being bundled together. There are some requirements, like continuing to pay your staff, which we've already done.
Yeah.
Continuing to pay contractors, those types of things to keep people, the money going to them. They're not going to give us money if we're not gonna
Right.
pay commitments, so.
Okay. I just wondered about that.
Last question, JD. Obviously, we mentioned eligibility for roughly 315,000, got 327,000. I guess two questions. One, what are the chances of not getting the 327? And then two, if we don't
Pretty
get
good.
Oh, pretty
I
good
think
at
they'll,
not
I
getting
think,
it?
yeah, I think they'll limit us to the 315.
Oh.
So we'll have to come up with the extra 12.
Yeah,
But
but
we're okay with that.
we're okay with
Yeah.
carryover from education and operation funds. Terry and I'll unwrap that, if that's all we have to find to get devices to all of our 3rd through 6th graders, we'll make that happen.
Okay.
Could they give us less than the 300?
I suppose they could, based on how many other people apply who have
Yeah.
higher poverty than we do. But this quick timeline is gonna be tough for people.
Okay.
So, we'll see.
Yeah.
And we don't have to take it if we don't get enough to do what we want,
Yeah.
so.
Okay. Alrighty, well, I'd like to entertain a motion then to approve the Common School Education Technology Loan Application.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Andy. A second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Chris. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thanks, Jamie. Appreciate Jamie's work on that. and-
Yeah.
and,
Short
It
time
was,
frame.
and I said, oh, I wish we could do this later, but I apologize for throwing that on you short notice. That's not how I like to operate, but.
All right, we're ready for the elementary school redistricting conversation.
Mr. Miller is going to come in we're going to project some information on the screen. You know where Terry is?
I saw him out there behind you just a minute ago.
Okay.
I'm like, oh, here, he's on the other side.
Oh, here he is.
He's over here.
He's doing his laps.
Yeah, he's,
He's getting his step in.
He's getting his lap steps.
All right, so I want to preface this, we've had some discussion about this, and, you know, we sought your approval to move forward. And so what the process has been, we've included our elementary principals in discussion and looking at our maps. I appreciate Daryl, Drew, and Lou for their work from the Transportation Department. We use a program called TransFinder. And so what you're going to do is you're going to see this, and I'm hoping it's clear enough for you. If you want to go ahead and pull up the maps. But I want to talk about our goals. So when we looked at redistricting with repurposing Maplewood, we wanted to balance our building sizes and class sizes as much as possible. That was a top priority. Another goal was to try to keep our socioeconomic numbers and changes at each building to a minimum as much as possible. So we want to try to balance the needs of each building as much as we can. Keeping neighborhoods and communities in the same school building as much as possible. So we wouldn't want to split Village Creek in half or Pleasant View in half. We want to try to keep those neighborhoods and those areas together. And then we also want to reduce bus travel time whenever possible. So this is the big reason why we needed to meet in person, for you to see the challenges that we face here. This is our county, and this is our proposed new boundaries. So what's an observation you may see from that in just a quick glance with that?
Everton and Fayette Central have huge districts.
And Grandview shaped weird. Yeah.
They
Long
do.
bus rides.
Yeah.
And that is a challenge. And so here, the challenges we face, one was our population density. Terry, can you pull up the map that shows where all of our kids are on this? This is really interesting.
Oh, wow.
And if he zoomed in, the city would look really impressive with the number of little people there. But look up in the Bentonville area, up in the northwest corner.
Not much.
Out in the sticks.
Does each, no, I can't. I was gonna say, is each one of those people, does that actually represent a child, or is that a home, or is it a family, or
That's an address.
oh, it's
an address?
What's an
Okay.
address?
That is at
Address
least
where they-
one student.
Okay.
At least one
Sometimes
student.
when there's multiples, they're
You got
layering on top
three
of one
kids that
another.
are-
And these are elementary.
And these are strictly elementary.
Yeah, these are next year's elementary kids. So we don't have all the kindergartners in there, but we use the data we had from our preschool program, the kids we knew would be matriculating into kindergarten. But, yeah, so when you look at that, look at the number of elementary kids projected up in that whole top section.
I'm having problems getting lit. I'm not
Orienting
getting-
yourself?
Map maker here, I'm familiar with that area, but there's no road numbers on there. And
Where's
He can show
Fayette
you some of
Central?
those.
yeah, where is Fayette Central?
Okay, yeah, zoom out and show them where Fayette Central, that'll give them a little bit of a bearing. This is why Terry's here, by the way.
Yeah.
So he can manipulate through it. There's a school, you can see the flag in the
Yeah.
Okay,
guy's hand there.
okay, thank you.
There's
That-
Fayette Central,
That helps.
okay. And on the map, if he scrolls down low, you can see the different colored school maps for each of the buildings are pink. That's why you really need to be able to see this in person to see where our buildings were and where the.
Okay, so where's Orange and Columbia on that?
Orange would be clear out there,
Right there.
yeah.
Because there's 44.
He can follow
Okay.
44 out and give you an idea, but there are very few kids out there in elementary. Right there.
Wow.
So what do we have, 3, Terry? I think 3 homes with elementary kids in that area now.
Wow.
What is that?
And when I was principal out there, there were a lot of kids that walked to school in the Orange area, and that was, how many years ago was that? 17,
Long time.
18 years ago?
Okay.
And Columbia is where,
And Columbia is,
is it in here?
yeah, you can follow that road on
South
down.
there.
Yeah.
Very few kids.
So look at our,
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah,
these are our challenges. So the population density in the county.
Too bad the Amish won't go to our school because, man, we got like 20 families with 10 kids in every family.
Right. And we're watching our bus routes too, because we don't want kids on buses too long, so that
Right.
presents a challenge in filling our buses. You know, the northwest part up above Bentonville, I think that bus runs about 15 kids for Lillian Russell, but it still takes over an hour to run that route.
Yeah.
is there any way, and I think we've talked about this before, that we have to send the big bus, and you were saying we couldn't really send the small bus up there because it didn't meet some sort of standards?
Right, now Daryl and I, we've talked more, and Kim and Terry, we've all talked about that. We can't use the activity type buses unless we can pull completely off the roadway into a driveway and load or unload. So we are exploring the possibility of maybe you doing something like that up in that northwest quadrant and just run a smaller route of 10 kids or 12 kids. Because we're actually looking at options with that. But there are rules about having the stop arm and having a bus with the stop arm. So, the smallest buses we have are Head Start buses that are yellow, that are equipped with the stop arms and flashers, which we can't really utilize.
Well, because with the few number of kids that are up there, and that's up by DeLake and Bayer Schrader in that area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Scott, did the software itself, did you put in all the addresses and it generated the boundaries by itself, or did we manually do that?
We manually did everything, so this is connected to Power School. Terry spent about 2 hours on this probably, didn't you?
Okay, yeah, right.
He spent a lot of hours.
It's been 6 months, but it's only been about 6 weeks.
Terry, I don't know how many hours he's done, but it's a lot. And so that's populated in by their addresses through our Power School, our student information system. And that's even been a challenge because they have to be able to communicate with each other. And so TransFinder and how it reads addresses is very particular. So Terry's done a lot of data cleanup here over the last 6 weeks too.
So there's a lot of
What's-
variables to this, obviously, because we have, not only one, we have to worry about travel time and bus routes, we have to worry about populations or classroom density, in order to, there's a lot of things that go into
There's
this
a lot.
equation, it's not just one thing, so.
Yes.
So the boundary of Grandview and Fayette Central on that west, I assume that area.
Zoom in.
Where is that? Is that in town? Yeah, that's in town. Or not?
Western Avenue?
Is it north of 30th Street, that area?
No,
No, 30th, the park's right
30th
there.
would be south, including south of 30th.
Terry, can you show where the park is there to get their bearings
Top
there on the
right.
right with
See the
the
circle?
track?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Horse track.
Right
So-
there is the
so-
park.
So we would have kids that are living on Waterloo, then it would be going to
Grandview.
Grandview.
So when you look at 30th, Terry, can you put your hand there on 30th, right, left?
Okay.
That's 30th, so what we're doing is moving because Fayette Central is down around 245 kids.
Yeah.
So the
Okay.
only way we balance our schools.
That's like
and
Beeson's
shift-
addition, right? Or no, Beeson's is on the other side.
It's Office Park, I think.
That's off.
Yeah,
Okay.
so the only way we can balance our schools and get them all around 300 kids is we have to move farther into the city with Everton and
So-
Fayette Central. So we moved down to 30th Street with Fayette Central, so that
Kids in
area,
Office Park would go
Right.
to Fayette Central.
that's one of our bigger shifts we've had to do to try to get enough kids
Man.
out there. And then another one for Everton, if you go down to 44 and Pleasant View, is we've shifted, Pleasant View is right there.
Mm-hmm.
That is now an Everton district,
And it has been Frazee?
Fayette Central.
Fayette Central.
It's been Fayette Central.
Because Everton too needed about 50 kids.
So where does Everton start in relationship to
Beeson.
State Road 1 then?
The
Triangle.
triangle.
The Triangle area?
Yeah, shoot.
So the kids in the Triangle that are now going to Eastview would in fact, in the Meadow Springs area,
Yeah.
out by Keyfaber's office, then would go to Everton as opposed to Eastview.
So you know where the triangle wides off there by
Yeah,
that church?
well,
That's where
where-
that cutoff is.
So let's,
Okay.
let's just look at that, because my dad's house, where I grew
Right.
up at, I went to Eastview, it was 2022 South State Road 1,
Yeah,
right there.
yeah, you're
I'm
right,
like
on-
the
you're
first
right
house
on
in
the
the
cusp.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, my dad's house, yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Well,
'cause
Kim
it's-
Carroll, who teaches at the middle school, she's right on the Y, she
Uh-huh.
lives right there. So the kids that live in Meadow Springs then would go to Everton. And
Right.
the kids in,
Meadow Springs is off of 44.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Meadow
no,
Springs is-
that's not what I'm thinking, not Meadow Springs.
I know what you're talking about.
Wellsview?
Wellsview, yeah.
Wellsview would go to Everton.
Wellsview would go to
And
Everton.
they currently go.
They
They
are.
currently go to, because they went to Everton when Alpina closed.
Yeah, some of these, Scott, can you tell, some of these just reverted back to the districts prior to
Okay.
closing Alpine and Orange, so some of them are going back.
Right.
Okay,
Oh, okay.
okay.
Because we started with the existing boundaries, and then we kind of looked at enrollment, and
Terry,
then
zoom out.
looked at how to shift it.
So this gives you sort of a bearing in this initial work of where we're at, so it gives you an idea of what our boundaries look like. And then we have maps on the wall too that Terry had printed, the Career Center helped get those, just to give you a visual too. It's really hard unless you are able to manipulate and zoom and show you where everything is.
Do you know how many families are affected from the move then? I know you,
Yeah.
previous was like 195, you thought that it
Well,
was gonna
there-
affect, but do you,
Well, we have all the, that's all the Maplewood families.
okay.
But then we also, we don't have a count because it's changed. I asked Terry, and just since we started on this 6 weeks ago, it's changed and we've seen a lot of changes. I think our numbers were around 300 total kids, 300 to 400 in that range. Is that right, Terry? Total that will be impacted, including the Maplewood students, which were around 195
Okay.
next year, K-5,
So,
K-16.
and most of those changes would have been moved into Everton or moved into Fayette
A
Central.
lot of those. Grandview has moved, well, we had to absorb all the Maplewood kids into the three
Grand-
city districts
Okay,
for Frazee. But, and he can show you, Kim, then was when you were at Maplewood, we moved back to Eastview, that one area.
Yeah, when I was at
Along the-
Maplewood, we always had, before we closed Orange and Alpina, the tracks were the cutoff.
Cutoff.
So if you were south of the tracks, you went to Eastview. When we closed Orange and Alpina, then the river became the boundary. So as soon as you crossed over the bridge there, you were in Maplewood's district. So that is now going back to Eastview. There's not a lot of
Are there very many?
residential
You mean
homes there.
between the railroad tracks and south is now back to east?
Right,
To the
it's back
river.
From the
East.
railroad tracks south?
Right.
Yeah, so on the fill there.
Yeah, that can't be a lot of
fulfill that
kids.
No,
density.
there's not.
On the fill, hometown guy here, but on the fill, and
Yeah.
then from the railroad tracks, is that what, 11th Street, where the railroad
yeah, the
tracks
11,
are?
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Try
right
to
there
go
by
up.
St. Gabe's,
Yeah, there's not much back
There's
in.
not
There's
many,
not.
well, you can see that,
Yeah,
Yeah, Amtrak.
the number
There's a
of
few kids.
dots there that Eastview's picked back up.
Yeah.
So they were very strategic in what we tried to do to balance our school sizes. I think our class sizes are gonna be pretty good, around 20, 22 per class. We may have a couple with 25 in them, but we're not gonna have any with 30 at the way things are now.
Okay.
So we're gonna be much better, and we won't have those anomalies of 15 either. We'll be in that 18 to 22 in general.
Grandview's a weird district, so what does Grandview include or that doesn't include, or it's in
It's a
town,
very-
but then it's got that striplet that's going out into the
It's just
county.
population.
Because the city's so dense,
Mm-hmm.
and we wanted to make sure that we could balance everything out, not only in class sizes, but socioeconomics. And we
Okay.
also needed to make sure that we balanced Frazee out a little bit too, so so that we didn't
Zoom up
split a lot of
all over,
neighborhoods.
Terry.
Yeah, I wanna
You
see how
kind
far
of create
Grandview
a
goes.
Where
little
that
bit
juts
different.
over the right. And when we get up there and Terry gets it to that point that goes east,
Mhm.
that, it's, keep going.
Yeah,
So right now Grandview's that purple right there.
yeah.
So
Okay.
it juts to the right,
Goes
that's
up to Wayne
more
County.
for the purpose of bus route.
Cause are there even
Because
kids
look at how
out
many-
there?
Look how many kids are out there. You see any of those
No.
little people?
No little people.
Okay, so
Wow.
it's just more of, in case we do have somebody move out there, that's
Okay.
where the bus could more naturally run, because we have a lot of dead space in that region where there's not homes. So that was more for Daryl's request to
Okay.
logistically try to manage that if or when we have kids move out there. That makes sense?
Yeah, yeah. So,
There's the park as you're bearing again.
and so what's the eastern boundary there for Grandview? What street, is that that's Western Avenue, okay.
Western, and then it would be Eastern. Eastern's on the other side there.
Right, but currently, our Grandview kids, are they east of Western? Do we have?
21st Street has currently the cutoff between Eastview and Maplewood.
Okay.
So that's down by like Dom's Dairy Mart.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Anybody
Mhm.
north of Dom's,
No, Grandview and
Grandview.
Maplewood.
Grandview. Anybody north of Dom's would go to Grandview, and then anybody south would go to Maplewood.
So now we're extending Grandview all the way down from 30th Street.
Okay.
And then we are getting over where D&M is, in that area. It juts out because there are not very many kids over there. If you look at that section on the west
Yeah.
side of Western,
Edgewood.
right there, and there, look, we don't have the kids there in elementary currently. We have more secondary age kids. But there aren't, we don't have any there.
Over
do
there in
we?
the industrial area.
Yeah.
Huh.
Edgewood.
And some of this too, as you look at Village Creek and Hanson Meadows, a lot of the kids are aging out. So that's what we're seeing too, a lot of these established neighborhoods, even up around Shawnee, there aren't as many, there are new families moving in around the high school now, but a lot of these families, their kids have grown up and graduated, so.
And
That's
parents
what
aren't
we're
moving.
looking to, and they're not moving, right? And it's worse out in the county because people aren't leaving their farms and their homes, and so there aren't many opportunities for younger families to move out there. Lori can probably attest to that.
Oh,
just
absolutely,
not
it's the
having
same
homes.
families out there,
Which is
People
good. Stay
get out that
Yeah,
way, they
that's-
don't leave,
Yeah.
Right.
so.
What's the longest we would expect a kid to be on a school bus?
Mark, we don't have, before all this happened, we were gonna run some sample routes. We haven't done that yet. We hope to do that this month. But the biggest concern is north of Bentonville, up
Right.
in that area.
That's what I thought.
And we are exploring possibly running a mini bus out there just to pick up a half dozen to a
And
dozen
if I understood
kids.
you, an activity bus, a mini bus, if it can pull into the driveway,
Fully off
we're
the road.
okay.
Yes, according to current Indiana code. And so
There's
that's.
only like 9 kids out there that I counted. Surely
I
they
think
would all have a
I think
driveway.
Lillian Russell runs that route and has for a long time, but I think she may have 15 kids on that bus on any day. And that's K-12. Because we have shuttles that run from Fayette Central into town.
And two of them might have Cambridge City addresses.
And are these families that currently bus, or are these all families?
These are all K-5, these are all next year's K-6 kids, right, Terry?
Okay, I just
So
wonder
not
how
all
many of
them,
those
no.
people don't use bus transportation and drive their kids in.
Yes, good
A lot.
point, yeah.
I think
A
Daryl
lot?
said they're about
Eastview
20,
a lot.
yeah. 20 to 25 kids, K-12, that will live in that, cut out that top part,
Okay.
and there may be 15 that ride the bus on an average day. So there are probably 10 kids that don't ride buses out there, that parents
Well,
bring them.
well, they have older siblings that,
Drive.
Schaefer's live out that way.
Yeah,
And Evan,
he doesn't ride the bus.
Evan doesn't ride the bus, but he also drops off his two younger brothers at Fayette Central, or Jeremy does, yeah.
So these are our challenges. Just being a countywide district, it is, and our population density is just so different when you move out. So for the public to understand and for the board is, we try to, build each route or each district to try to get each of our schools around 300 kids. That's a nice size elementary, plus it allows us to better balance class sizes when you get up around that 300. So this is where we're at this point. We are going to make these available. I'm going to send it to the newspaper for Bob to publish, and then we're going to have them on our website for patrons to look at. And then, in the next month, any questions you may have, we're going to continue to tweak things as needed. Hopefully we can run some routes and see what kind of times we're looking at, and that's a big factor. We do have the big front nose bus, it's like the Spartan Express. It holds the most kids, I think 92 kids, I think. And Rodney Flum currently drives that. So we're looking, is he driving in the best place to maximize the space on that bus too? So we may need to shift where we send some of our buses to.
How many current, I don't know if you know this right off the top of your head, but how many kids currently go to like Eastview that are not in Eastview's current district?
Let me see, I think I have some rough data.
I don't know if you,
Out of county, we currently have 7 at Eastview projected for next year.
out of county.
Yeah, I'm just looking at these. I
So
have
those
out of
would be
county.
teachers' kids or something? Possibly?
Sometimes it's just people who work here or want to
Oh,
send their
true,
kids
yeah,
here.
work here.
Yeah, we just got a request for next year for a student who's in Wayne County to come here out of county, so it varies.
Okay. I just didn't know, and again, I think you said it'll again go by where there's space, if we can let those kids in.
Yeah, our hope is to be able to accommodate as many parent requests as possible.
Right.
We're still going to go through the same process through Kim Crisaro's office, where people can request transfers, because we have a lot of families that have grandma living in
Right.
Fayette Central District, and the kids live in Frazee District. And for childcare needs, that we will approve as many as we can, but we're gonna cap class sizes. So
Right.
we first will accommodate the families in that district, but then we get into factors, well, if you work there as an educator, we've always given that approval too. So we tried to build that in when we balance our classes too, knowing which teachers will want their kids there
Okay, that's good to know.
and staff members. So we'll follow the same procedures for requests, and hopefully we can accommodate most. But where we might get, we've been capping classes sometime, but what's happened is, we may have a family move into Eastview with a 3rd grader, and we cap that class size at 27. Then that family that's living in Eastview District is now having to go to Frazee, and we're busing them for the rest of the year. We're hoping we can build enough breathing room in there where we don't have to move families out of their district they're moving into as well. Because that's hard for the family when you do that 1-year move, because your class sizes are so imbalanced. And then we're sitting at 15 out in one of the county schools in the same grade. And so this should fix it for a while, but it's not a long-term fix, unfortunately, if we continue to lose our numbers of students. We may be revisiting this again in 5 years, 7 years.
How long's it been, it's been what? How many
After
years?
Alcuin and Orange, so that was 2011. Started the 2012 year, I believe, wasn't it? So it's been 8 years.
And then it hadn't been done before that, I think since 2007.
I don't remember.
I don't remember. It was before that. I started at Bigwood in 2005, and we didn't do it. The only time we redistricted while I was an administrator was in 2011.
I'm thinking it was in the late 90s when we redistricted before that. But I can't remember.
Well, lots of hard work went into this for
Sure did.
for everybody involved, thank you.
It's so nice to have
Daunting.
really accurate information because I think that helps all of us. These are where these kids are.
We do.
It's not a speculation, well, we think we have kids living there, we have kids living there.
We know where they were as of 3 weeks ago.
So it's out of date now.
You never, I mean, we have the kids that will move throughout the year, and so, you know, the data is not completely accurate right now because we haven't been able to update it in Power School because we haven't been at school. But there will be some changes. And I don't know what the impact of this will be economically for our county when we lose some students. I know one district in the area that's probably gonna have to RIF teachers this year. And, you know, we're not at that point where we wanna do that, or we should have to do that, but there's a lot of uncertainty right now with what's gonna happen with funding and things with the state with the basic support.
The HUD housing used to be quite as, people would move from one HUD housing situation to another. The way this is set up, and I can't recall all of them, but do we have it set up so if they move from one HUD-approved facility to another, that they would not necessarily have to change schools?
We're gonna try to work with, I mean, we do that now, but unfortunately, we can't do it everywhere. We've limited the city districts to 3.
Okay.
So that's gonna make it easier, because a lot of times, and Kim could speak better to this, having been the principal in a city school, but a lot of your families move within a 5 or 6 or 8 block range.
Sure.
So this could very well help, we think it'll help with the
Okay.
transiency, for sure. If anyone needs or wants more information, we have our contact information on our webpage with the FCSE Connect Fayette. If anyone is curious, because it's pretty clear, if you live in northwestern or southern part of the county, you know where you're gonna be next year. But it gets a little tricky when you get
In
into
town.
Frazee and Grandview and Eastview. So if people do have questions, they can always send us an email, and we're happy to tell them where the proposed address will rest. I shared that with a mom today who was asking, and I said, this will be in Grandview District.
Are these the maps that will be on the website?
Our goal is to try to get those formats up there and then have the whole county.
Because that
wide
has
map.
the grid and it shows the
does.
streets.
It's just hard to
Nice.
see some of those.
Oh, is it? Okay, yeah.
But yeah, we can get those up on the website as well.
Scott, when would families be notified that are going to be in a new district?
Well, we would hope to be back in, when all this happened, we had hoped we were gonna be, we didn't know we were gonna be in school, but
Right.
we have this month to work through questions and, you know, try to get this finalized and then present to you at the May 12th meeting. And then after that, then our work begins on getting that notification out to our families to let them know. And we're really talking, Maplewood's our primary area, but we also have families that may be impacted out in Pleasant View or Offutt's Park area. So we want to be sure to get that communication out to those families being impacted. Hopefully, so they know by the end of May or by early June, so they have time. Our goal was to get it out and let kids come and do
Before
tours
school
of
is
the
out.
building before school is out. I still think we'll meet that timeline, but it just adds another layer because of we may not have accurate info on all kids if they moved. And we were having that problem, getting a hold of some kids, trying to get packets of materials to them, delivering them to their homes. Some of them weren't there anymore. So then that adds a whole nother layer of where are they, so we try to find them. So it's been a challenge, and our schools have done a great job trying to get connected to our parents. I know Kim was out yesterday delivering all over the county resources, so.
Fun times. All right, well, thank you for
Thank
all
you.
that information, and we'll look forward to approving this.
These maps. These should be up by this week, these will be up. I don't wanna put him on the spot and say tomorrow, cause I know he's got a lot going on, but knowing Terry, they'll be up. That's the way he operates. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, public comments. I'm assuming we didn't have any of those, are usually the ones that are here. Superintendent's discussion group reports, principal crew reports, Director of Human Resources. Did Brian have anything else that we know of?
I don't think so.
Okay. Director of Finances, Janie's not standing in the wings waiting. Okay.
No.
Assistant Superintendent.
I just want to acknowledge that we started our first official week of remote learning. And I know Scott mentioned a little bit of this earlier, but I just want to commend our staff. All of our admin and teachers were in contact with all of our families in Fayette County by phone calls, emails, making sure that they were okay, do they need any resources, and then which avenue they were choosing to do remote learning, whether they were going to do the internet access if they had it, and whether or not they needed packet. Tremendous amount of time, and so I just want to make sure our teachers are given the credit and administrators, because they are worried, they are concerned, and we did find some families that did need some resources, and our administrators were on it, and they were out there delivering things that they needed, so kudos to them, and I felt like they needed to be recognized for that. Just to kind of give you an idea of what we're doing, we are working week to week. We have 20 days, 5 weeks, which is 25, I get that. But we have 5 built-in waiver days for teachers to do some work when the packets come back in. But we're trying to give families at least a week's work. And then we're pushing that out on a Monday. Our teachers will have some office hours on Tuesdays and Thursdays, whether that's by telephone or by Google Meet, Zoom, all kinds of technology things, or if they just need to, pick up a cell phone and call. So Wednesdays, our administrators are meeting with all of our staffs through Google Meet to say, hey, how's it going? Are the kids okay? Do they need additional support? I am then meeting with our administrators on Google Meet on Thursdays to see what additional things we need to do, if we need to make any tweaks. So it's definitely a learning process. It's difficult for everyone, but we're doing the best we can, and I feel like, I know parents are getting an idea of what it's like to do homeschooling, and I know from my own personal experience, I'm glad that my kids go to public school. It is a lot harder than it looks. So then on Fridays, we will kind of be like a catch-up day, and then the next Monday, then we'll push those activities out again. So just kind of wanted to give you an idea of the process that we're using for the remote learning. And then obviously high school WCC may be a little different because they do have the dual credit classes. So there's a little bit different expectation on those kids that are participating in dual credit. But for the elementary and middle school, it's that weekly basis. We're trying not to offer a lot of materials that are going to require parents to do a lot of research or just support for them. It'd be more of that kind of, how can we reinforce some of the skills that they already had. We don't want this to be a time of more stress for any of our families, but we definitely feel like our kids need to continue to have those educational experiences, and we're doing our best to provide that, whether it's online. I mean, if you're a Facebook person, the things that these teachers are doing on Facebook is amazing. Even just listening to your teacher read a book on Facebook, just that interaction that some of our kiddos are craving and need to continue their education. And at times like this, those are the things that matter. Those relationships, those connections, those teachers reaching out to those families and saying, hey, are you okay? Do you need anything? And like he said, I was delivering for Fayette Central out in Orange, and they're way out there. And so, a lot of them might need resources and things if they're not working or don't have transportation. So just want to make sure we recognize all the hard work that our administrators and teachers are doing, as well as our parents, because this is a different time for them as well. So just wanted to make sure I gave them the recognition that they deserve. Thank you.
Thanks, Kim. Superintendent.
Yeah, I will try to be brief. You've heard me enough, but I want to echo what Kim said. When we sat down and started planning, where do we go, what do we do? The first thing was we have to keep in contact with kids. And so, I want you all to know that too, is, our first focus, it's not on what standard are we teaching here, because a lot of our kids need, you can't be face-to-face good classroom and hands-on learning with your teacher. I'm a firm believer of that. And, so what we're trying to do is make the best of what we can do so we don't overwhelm our parents, because I know some of them are already feeling that way. And we want to make sure we focus on those essential things that kids need to be reviewing, and but really focus on how can we help you. And, yesterday we distributed 8,210 meals to students. That keeps going up every week. We met today with Chartwells, Janie and I did, and brought Daryl Drew in on the conversation. We're looking at how can we expand that even more into bus delivery. So we're working on plans to expand out into the county, especially with some delivery. And can we deliver learning materials and resources to kids doing that same thing with the buses? So we're working on some ideas, trying to expand that, because we keep hearing of more and more kids that parents aren't asking or don't know where to turn. And, you know, we had one family with, I think, 5 kids out in the county, and they were really struggling, and it was because of that human interaction with that teacher and then the principal. And I know Leslie helped out with that one, I think, but that 50 meals went to that family. And yesterday, a parent was getting meals, because we'll deliver anytime. If we know of the need, we'll get them to them. And the person said it's almost like Christmas, because we were delivering boxes of food for their kids, for their meals for the week. So we are looking at how we can expand that with snacks and other things as the government allows us to expand our program. So I just wanted you all to know that we are really trying to reach our families, and our numbers keep going up. So, you know, our goal is, if 2,000 kids need food in our county, we're gonna reach them if we can. But, so if you hear of anyone, please send their names our way. I know Leslie's been very involved with that, and Brian wanted me to share, Brian Hensley, just his appreciation to you and for the work that's being done with helping with families that don't have transportation.
It breaks my heart. I could cry right now. I've been, you know, I think there were, maybe it was just 2 principals and Rachel that were discussing some families that did not have food that day, and somebody, I think I got the email with time that we were able to deliver to one family, because we're doing meals from the Crosspoint the Crosspoint Biker Church. They're doing meals in town, but that doesn't help people who are homebound, don't have transportation, or live out in the county. So that was our goal. And we started out, I think the first week we asked for 20 meals, the second week we asked for 40 meals. We're up to 80 meals now, because they're letting us get 2 meals per person. And I think that number's gonna rise, because we got a couple more names today. But the other thing that's happening is some of the food pantries that also have pretty strict limits on, for instance, the one that I'm volunteering with, they're supposed to only give food out twice a month to any individual family. And when I was there Monday, she said, that rule's gone now. We're giving it as often as they need it. And between Gleaners coming for the school corporation, is that next Wednesday?
That's on my list too.
Oh.
That's tomorrow, yeah.
Okay, oh, that's tomorrow, okay, go ahead. So anyway, that's been good too, but there's, and the principals have been great in getting out to those families, unbelievable. Yeah.
What about the academics of it all? It's, how are these kids going to be, Mark and I were discussing this earlier, how are these kids going to be graded on this work that they do? How is it going to impact them? The high school kids, we would hope that our kids would be more responsible and the like, but the fact is they're kids and they're in a horrendous situation, and they're not getting what they need. You know, how is this going to impact their grades? How is this stuff going to be graded? Advancement, all this good kind of stuff.
Well, I think everybody's objective, even including the guidance that we're getting from the state, is this is a new thing for all of us, and the goal of this is not to be punitive. Our goal is not to take A students down to C students or C students down to F students, but we do have to provide some type of activity or enrichment in which they can complete. Let's say, if you think about when this 9 weeks started for our high schoolers, we had 1 week in, so there weren't a lot of grades. We have to provide them with opportunities to get their grades up. So this is really about giving them opportunities to get their grades up, not about penalizing them and taking their grades down. Now again, if you're in a dual credit course, we have been in contact with those kids from the get-go that you are following a college syllabus and they are doing online learning, and so it's a little different. But for our elementary kids, it's more about participation and providing them with activities that they can do that aren't going to require a lot of direct instruction. I mean, we will all agree the best instruction is the teacher in front of the kid. We can't provide that, so we're doing the best we can in terms of providing opportunities for them to reinforce skills that they already knew. So if they get a packet or they get the work on Monday, they have until Friday, well, actually Monday, the next Monday to complete that. They are either going to drop them back, parents are gonna drop them in little boxes. A lot of our staff are not comfortable in picking up papers after they've been in other homes, so we're gonna have them by teachers. The parent can come in, drop it in the correct box, and then pick up their new packet, or they get their new online learning the next week. So they will get some points for whatever activities they completed. It's not like, even the state has limits on how much time a kid can spend based on their grade. Because we have even our preschool teachers out giving activities to our preschoolers.
Right, yeah.
So theirs might be 15 minutes a day. When you get up to the high school guidance, it's like 15 minutes per class with a minimum, or you can't go over 3 hours a day.
Right.
So, and looking at what my own son has brought home, a lot of it is just a continuation. For example, in social studies, it might be a web quest, something that's easy for him to do independently, but helps him to show that he has understanding of whatever skill they're asking him to do. Again, our goal is not to fail a bunch of students, it's giving students some opportunity to increase their grades or keep the grades that they are. When it comes to graduation, the state has provided us with lots of guidance on how we're going to do that. We have made sure that we've made contact with all of our seniors to make sure that they are either okay with graduating in terms of their credits, or if they need additional support, they can be doing some credit recovery work now. And I think Randy's pretty confident that we've reached all of them and they're all in good shape. So obviously when we get back to school, whether that's in the fall or whenever that may be, hopefully it's in the fall, we as a district are gonna have to go back and look at our critical standards that were in this last 9 weeks and do some kind of reteaching and kind of give our kids a little extra boost, whatever that may be, and it just really depends on when we go back. Thankfully, the timing of it is at the end of the school year, and if we were on target with our curriculum maps, we were already through a large majority of our curriculum.
Well, and a lot of the time for the last 9 weeks of school would have been taken up with standardized testing.
Right, so if there's any good in all of this, the timing is that we were pretty much through all of our curriculum maps for all of our subjects. Now, again, that's gonna vary for your dual credits because there's more expectation because it is getting a college credit. So if there's not a lot of new material introduced at this time anyway, and like you said, majority of this time is spent on testing for iRead and iLearn. So again, it's just about providing them with experiences, making sure we're doing those relationships. A lot of the main credits and accountability lie with the middle school or the high school because they are courses that they earn credits. But up until 9th grade, they just need to do the work and do the best that they can to complete.
With the high school kids and the kids that are not involved with the dual credit, and I understand that because that brings a college component in. But the freshman, the sophomore that's taking the normal classes, not the dual credit classes, the ones that are in health class or obviously in English, in a math class, maybe even a science class of some sort. Kind of, how does this work for them? And for an art class, for example, or a PE class, clearly it's a mess.
Right. But honestly, in looking at what these teachers have prepared for these students that are earning credits, if they're logging in and they're doing the work, they're going to get credit for that. Now, if the student doesn't log in or doesn't participate in any of the activities, and it's not fair for them to earn the credit, they would get whatever grade they would get. But the expectation is if our students are logging into their Google Classrooms and they are completing the activities that the teachers are putting on there, they will be fine. They'll be fine. It's really, they're taking into consideration that they are at home. They don't have the same motivation as they might have sitting in a classroom. And honestly, like I said, the activities that I have seen that the teachers are pushing out to my own son, they're very doable. And as long as they log in and they are turning in those assignments, I don't foresee any students having trouble earning those credits for the courses that they're enrolled in for this 9 weeks or semester.
Kim, I would just follow that up with my concerns about seniors, graduation rate. I know from teaching seniors the last 10 or 15 years of my career and being on RTI that some of those seniors you could target that were in trouble and you would be able to help them save themselves that last 4 or 5 weeks. And now we don't have that last 4 or 5
Yeah, but I
weeks.
think we were out in front of that. And we were already targeting them early on. So I don't think that was as critical as maybe it was years ago, because I think the high school had already done a really nice job of, as soon as those seniors entered as seniors, okay, what do you need to make sure that you're on track for graduating? Because he sent me an Excel sheet of all of the seniors, and it really wasn't an issue as much as I thought it might be.
The numbers weren't an
The
issue.
numbers were not,
Okay.
no.
Thank you.
Kim, what about our special ed kiddos or our kids with, that may not have any, both our kids that have more profound learning needs and ones that don't, perhaps have some dyslexic issues, not that that's not profound, but some subjects they're okay and others they wouldn't, and parents are just not equipped to handle teaching in that style.
Sure.
Also like IEPs, which I think are called something else now.
By the state guidance, and this is one reason that e-learning is the reason that we've chosen maybe not to go forward with e-learning as much, is because it is hard to meet the needs of our special ed population doing online learning or remote learning. So the guidance from the state is that all of our special ed teachers have to make contact with those kiddos. They have to provide resources and support for them. And then they're working with their gen ed teachers to make sure that if there's something that they can't do, that special ed teacher can be that advocate for them and make sure that they're not penalized for that activity. So our teachers are being extremely flexible. Our special ed teachers have office hours. They are
They're working with parents.
they're
More so,
calling
I mean, as much
every
as working with kids, I think some of the parents are probably
Sure.
like pulling hair out right
Yeah,
now.
well, then they've also been in contact with all of their parents, because obviously, whenever you have a change to an IEP, you have to rewrite it. So we've had to rewrite all of our IEPs, so kudos to our special ed teachers,
Was
because
that
they,
like 900?
like 900. Megan Gilman, our special ed director, has done a fabulous job of communicating to our special ed staff, hey, this is the requirement, this is what you need to be doing, make sure you're reaching out to those gen ed teachers. And then when it comes to life skills, I obviously have a life skills student, and Megan, he's in Megan's class, and she's done a wonderful job. She sent like a bingo card and some activities, so we're reaching those kids as well. And they also have office hours. If Megan, if I have a question, I can contact Megan. So I really feel like overall we're doing a fantastic job for the short amount of time that we had to pull this off. It hasn't been easy for parents and staff and students, no. There's obviously been some growing pains, but I think we've learned a lot from this, and we've built a lot of good relationships with teachers and parents, and I think we'll come out stronger in the end.
That's
But
the
I do
positive.
feel like we've learned a lot.
Thank you for that. I know you have some more stuff.
No, thanks, Kim.
Yeah, thank you.
Kim led this. I mean, we've done a lot of talking, but, you know, and I want you all to know too, and it's not about the punitive gotcha type stuff right now. That's not what this is about. Yes, our kids who are earning credits, they need to meet those requirements, but we want to be that's what the state has given us, those guidelines, to be as flexible as possible. Because we know not every child is, my daughter's, you know, taking college classes, and I was proofing one of her papers she was turning in for Tyler Zerby, and it was like, wow, she's a pretty good writer, you know? But I guess I'm a little more involved with my own senior daughter right now. So wanted to dovetail a couple things in, and for the public, but for you too. 2 things that I get asked a lot: prom, graduation.
That's just your wife and your daughter.
My daughter has lots of friends. But So Randy and Judd and I are meeting Thursday afternoon. We're gonna talk through some options. There's lots of options. I had a gentleman from Florida contact me. He said, how can I help? He used to live here. I will tell you, every idea is on the table, but we are taking a wait and see. The newspaper's asked several times. We want to see what things look like May 1st. We don't want to be reactive yet, but we are putting plans together in the event that we cannot hold. I don't believe we will be able to hold the traditional Spartan Bowl graduation. I don't think that's going to happen for any school district in America this summer. If we have to move graduation later to accommodate, that's on the table. If we do some sort of a drive-in, I have a crazy idea. I don't want it out there yet, but where we could. I don't want to say all this, but I think we're looking at every kind of option on the table. John Palsy at TV3 said, whatever you need, we'll be there to help you with video, live streaming. So we're going to try. We've got a lot of different ideas. We're trying to put some plans into place.
We have the football field.
The football field, but it's all on what are the rules with social distancing and large gatherings. We don't know what that's going to look like in 2 months. Is it worth waiting until July if the guidelines have lessened? I'd probably talk to 25 seniors, and they would all say, we want to have a graduation if we can possibly have it. They also want to have a prom if they can possibly have it. It may be a prom in July or August before they go to college, but we want to try to honor that in some way. We just don't know until we see how things are going to develop. So I just wanted the public to know that too, and the board, that we aren't going to forget those things if we can possibly help it. We're going to do this the best we can and make it special for the kids. I told my daughter, and she had a friend over, social distancing, of course, 6 feet apart, but I said, you guys were born around 9/11. You came in under that, and then you're graduating. And that was just really interesting. I said, wow, they didn't remember 9/11, but just the fact that this is a resilient group of kids, and they're going to be okay. There are a lot of great kids in our senior class, but we are going to find a way to honor our kids. And we just don't know what that's going to look like yet, but we are working on ideas. And we're going to need flexibility from our parents and guardians and our kids, because it may be way out there with whatever's been done anywhere, but we're going to make it special. So I wanted to share that with the board too. It's very important that we do that. The water balloon fight, I've been asked about that, if you're familiar with CHS. Don't know if we're going to pull off the water balloon fight, but Dennis said he would line up and let him throw water balloons at him. But, those are the things that are important to kids.
Well, and also, I'm on the park board too, and basically all the Parks Department things are canceled for the summer. And there's, is even the park pool gonna be able to be opened? And that's a huge question right now. So this is a group of kids who've had so much taken away from them. And I think it's incumbent on the adults, when we can, to give them back some of those things that are just part of being a kid.
And that's what we're going to try to do. I know that the athletic department's working on some senior banners that'll be displayed, I think, downtown with the mayors, going to get those hung for us, and, some other things that I know we're trying to do to support our seniors with some couple surprises. But it's a challenging time. So, I heard one area county, their fair's already canceled for this summer. I think, is it Wayne County? And so,
Theirs was early.
It's early.
Theirs is always the end of June.
So, that the ramifications from this could extend into, there's already talk about football season not starting.
No.
And things like that. So we don't know what's gonna happen by August or September.
We'll be a lot smarter in a month.
College football.
We'll be a lot smarter in 2 months.
Right.
We'll be a lot smarter in 3 months.
And some people, some superintendents, and just no criticism, but they're being very reactive to these things right now. And I think we need to take that wait and see. We still have time.
Mm-hmm.
So, we'll look at this again in early May,
Well,
see where we're at.
I think that's the advantage of living in a smaller community, because we do have the ability to communicate with each other very, very quickly and make changes as we need them, not take knee-jerk reactions and be able to look down. So I think that it's very, very fortunate that, we're not in a big city situation where you are forced into making very quick decisions. We have the opportunity not to do that. And I think that's unfortunate.
And I think our people in general are more understanding too. I think there's always lessons you learn from these events, and I've seen a lot of good in people right now, a lot of kindness. And, and that means something too. People are being more understanding and tolerant, I see, just in helping each other out. I see some really good acts too from that. So that's all I had. I thank you all for coming in and being here, and I hope that this worked. And do we want to look at, we'll see what next month holds, but, we can try this format again, or if things change, we may have to look at a different option, like video.
Does anybody have anything for the good of the cause? It's kind of an odd question. I just want to extend our support to anybody in our community that is currently ill from the virus or has lost anybody from the virus. Of course, if you lose anybody anyway, it's tragic. And just wanted to share that I've had some, and also thank you to all our healthcare workers in our community who are going above and beyond, and our nursing home staff and staffs, and it's just incredible. I do want to share, I've had a couple conversations with teachers, teary conversations on their side, that they don't get to be with their kids at the end of the year. That to me means so much. It wasn't even about how am I going to get them up academically, it's just I don't have closure with my kids. And if there's anything that speaks louder about relationships, there's nothing else. And so again, there's that silver lining that we've got folks who have tremendous relationships with their kids, and they're missing them right now. So, anything else from anybody tonight? With that, you know what we're ready for, Chris?
I'm boycotting. Someone else has to carry the time.
I'll make that motion.
Yeah, you're kind of in that spot. Thank you, Mark. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Dennis. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, same sign. Meeting adjourned.